Are you looking to get started with Looker Studio? Well, then you've come to the right place. Today we're going to build out an entire Looker Studio dashboard from scratch, and along the way you'll learn all the different concepts that you'll need to start building your own. Let's dive in. Hey, and welcome to the channel. My name is Leon. This channel exists to help you use your web stats to grow your website. I want to thank you for watching this video. It really means a lot to me that you're checking out my content. As a way to say thank you, I've created a short cheat sheet on how you can grow your website traffic. So whether you have a new domain or an existing domain, if you want to grow your website traffic, just head over to the video description. You will find a link there where you can download my cheat sheet for free. Also, if you like this video and want to watch more, just head over to my profile. You will find all my videos over the past year there where I talk about growing your website with your web stats. All right, let's head back to the video. All right, so let's start with a blank Looker Studio dashboard. Let's start from scratch. We're going to do that by opening up a blank report. And as soon as you open up a blank report, Looker Studio is going to ask us, okay, what data do you want to pull in to this dashboard? And we're going to need a connector for that. Connector is basically a way of connecting to different other data sources. And Google has provided us with 23 different connectors. For instance, Google Analytics, Google Ads. It has a Search Console connector as well. And there are all kinds of partner connectors as well. So you will find, for instance, Matomo here. Yeah, there it is, Matomo Analytics. There you go. Supermetrics has a well-known connector for Facebook ads, for instance. So there are all kinds of other tools that you can pull in data from. A funnel.io is another one. But today we're just gonna start by using the Google Analytics connector. So we're gonna pull in data from our Google Analytics 4 property. So let's pick that. If you haven't done this already, it's gonna ask you to authorize your own account. So you basically just press the button, a screen pops up and you log into your Google account. And then after you've done that, it shows you all the different accounts that you've got access to. I'm going to use my own account for this dashboard. And as soon as you open up your account, you will find all your different properties. So the properties that you've got access to. I'm going to use my own property, so my own Dutch leonkorteweg.nl website, and I'm going to add that to this dashboard. So I'm going to click add. It's going to load. It's going to ask for a confirmation here. I'm going to add it to my report. And the first step is done. We've got our blank report and we've added our own GA4 data to it. And let's go ahead and just remove this table here because we're really going to start from scratch. So one thing that I am going to do, and you do not need to follow this, but I'm going to make my dashboard a little bit smaller. And I'm doing this so you can follow along a little bit more easily because the resolution and my face is even to the right of the screen. So just to make it a little bit easier for you to follow along, I'm going to go into theme and layout, going to layout, scrolling down, and here there's a width selector. So I basically can make it a little bit less wide. I'm going to cut it in half. This way you'll be able to follow along easier. Also, if you make dashboards for mobile use, you want to make it a little bit smaller too, because the regular size is more fitted for dashboard use. Yes, now we're ready to start our dashboard. Let's give it a name. I'm calling this leonkorteweg.nl dashboard. So this is just the dashboard that I'm going to use every week. I'm going to send it to my inbox every Monday so I can check how my website is doing. So we're going to start by adding a chart. And as you can see, there are different things. We're going to use a whole bunch of them today, but I like to start with the time series. So let's add that to here. There you go. And as you can see, you have one metric over time on display here. And the metric here that it chooses by default is views. But one thing that I'm really interested in here, how many people have I reached with my website? And the way of seeing that in Google Analytics is, of course, by using the active users. So instead of views, I'm going to change this to the amount of active users. I'm selecting this timeline here, and there's a section over here where you can just change the entire timeline. First of all, is the data source. Well, I have one data source and one only, so we're not going to change that here. But if you have multiple data sources, you can switch between them here. You have the date dimension that we do not need to change here. The metric, that's the most important one with the timeline. And I'm going to click on views in order to change it. So you click on the word views here, and then a menu pops open. I'm going to search for active users. And there it is, active users. And that is the metric that I like to see over time, to be able to see like how many people did I reach in any particular day. The word active users is a technical term. So if I make dashboards for clients and they are not familiar with these terms, you have the option of changing the word, the label in this chart. And I really like to do that a lot. So you can do that by going into metric and then don't click on active users, but move your mouse over to the left little section here. You see that as soon as I pop over here, there's a little icon, and if I click that, it lets me override the name. So I can say something like users or visitors, but users is a very common name as well. So users, and as you can see, the source field is active users, but the label that I'm going to use here is a users. Also, I really find it interesting to know like how many conversions did I got in any particular day. To get that, we can just add another metric to the same timeline. And we do that not by clicking users, but click underneath here. We can add a second metric to this timeline. So let's do that. Let's add a metric. And conversions are called key events in GA4. So we need to look for the metric key events. There you go. And then it's going to display the key events over time. So I have both the amount of users and the amount of key events. Key events is also just a term that people might not be really familiar with. So I'm going to override that label as well. Process is the same. So I'm going to pop over my mouse over the key events and then to the left. Then you have this icon that I click, and I'm going to override this with the word conversions, because that's a word that people might be a little bit more familiar with. So now that I see the amount of users and conversions over time, I'm ready to add a bunch of other charts to this dashboard. So now that we have the users and conversions over time, we're ready to build out the dashboard even further. And let's do that by adding a chart right here. Again, you have a whole bunch of different charts here, and we're going to use the scorecard here. And the scorecard is basically the total amount of any particular given metric. And for this, it's the metric active users. And to be honest, that's exactly what I want, because I want to know the total amount of users that I've reached in any given period of time. The only thing that I don't like is the label that it comes with. By default, the term active users is a bit clumsy. So let's change that label to just users. And we can just copy paste this and do the same thing for conversions. So again, conversions are called key events in GA4. So I'm going to choose key events and I'm going to override this label with the name conversions. There you go. You can even add a third one, for instance, bounce rate or other metrics that are important to you. Bounce rate is something that I really like, and it gives me a clear picture of, do people like what they see as soon as they enter the site, or do they leave immediately? So bounce rate is a good metric to keep an eye on for that purpose. So the next thing that I want to add to this dashboard are the traffic sources. And we need to think about how do we want to visualize them. I've got a couple of options here. We can put them in a regular table, or we can put them in a column or a bar chart. The advantage over the table is that we can use multiple metrics alongside of one another. So let's choose that for now. I'm going to add in a table here, and I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. And as you can see, the table here is filled by default with the date dimension and active users metric. And we can change that because we want to show all the traffic channels. We have a couple of options here. We can do channel group. So default channel group is a good one. That's the default one in GA4. But to be honest, I like session, source, medium the best. This is the way of visualizing traffic sources that I'm just really familiar with, and it gives a little bit more detail as well. So session, source, medium. The label here, I like to change that to just traffic sources. So traffic sources, and then the amount of active users. So how many people did those sources provide? So let's change the label again to just users. It's also a little bit more economical with the space that we have here. And let's also just display the amount of conversions from the traffic sources. So I'm gonna add a second metric here. I'm gonna say key events and then conversions. Let's rearrange these a little bit. We have space for a third one, bounce rate. There you go. And I'm going to put these in between. So bounce rate, users, bounce rate. and conversions. There you go. So the next chart that I want to add is a pie chart that shows me the devices that people use to view my site. I want to be reminded, like, are people viewing my site on desktop or are viewing people my site on mobile? Because it really helps me improve the site and kind of put myself in their shoes in a way. How are they experiencing my site? How are they viewing my site? So I've added a pie chart at the bottom to this table, but as you can see, the space is a little bit limited. Let's make this a little bit smaller. Put this to the, yeah, there you go. And right now it used session source, medium, and bounce rate. I don't want that. I want and it's called device category. So mobile, desktop, tablet. And then I want the amount of users. So the amount of users, and then it shows me 91% is desktop traffic. And as you can see, the labels here are set to the right, but we can make it a little bit more space efficient by putting them at the bottom. So I'm going to select the chart. I'm going to go into style, and under style, it lets me choose a position for the labels here. So I want to, under legend, I want to put those at the bottom. There you go. Also, what I like is a map of the world, like where are my users coming from. So I'm going to add another chart. I'm going to add a geo chart. I'm going to just make it a little bit like this and then make it smaller. And then again, it says country and bounce rate, but I want active users here, not bounce rate. And then it shows me like all the countries where my visitors are coming from at the moment. All right, so we've added a whole bunch of charts to our dashboard already. If we press view in the top right corner here, this is how it's going to look as soon as we open it from, let's say, our email or from our Looker Studio dashboard. This is the view that our client or colleague or manager, whoever this dashboard is for, is going to watch it. And one thing that I really like to add here is a calendar at the top right. So of course there is a default period of 28 days, for instance, that dashboard is about, but that a user always has the option of changing the date range. So let's go ahead and do that real quick. So I'm gonna press edit, and I'm gonna make this a little bit smaller, and in the top right corner I'm gonna add a control this time, and I'm gonna add a date range control. So there you go, here it is. And by default, let's set this by default to last 28 days. I like that, 28 days, because it's 4 weeks exactly. It's always the same amount of weekend days and weekdays. It's a good predictor for what the next month will look like in terms of users and conversions. So here it is, it's a date range. And then as somebody uses the dashboard, they have the option of switching it to, for instance, the last 7 days or the last year or this year, for instance. So the user of the dashboard has a lot more flexibility in selecting different date ranges. And as you can see, we have a little bit space that's not used at the moment. And what I like to do here is I like to add a logo. And we can do that by adding an image. It's going to ask for an image file from your computer. So this can be a PNG or a JPEG image. Let me find my logo real quick, and I'll be back in a second. So here it is. My logo is uploaded. Let me make it a little bit smaller. There you go. And especially if you make dashboards for clients, it's just really nice to make it even branded. You can change colors, fonts on this as well to make it a little bit more like their own brand. So as you can see, we basically ran out of space. There's no space left anymore adding more charts to this. So what we can do 2 things. We can go into theme and layout, and then under layout we can just make the first page longer and set the height to something else. For instance, 3000 gives us a lot more space to work with. So I've seen a lot of great dashboards that do this. Just make the dashboard very long so you can just scroll through it and see all the data in there. Let me just go and do that real quick. Another way of adding more data in the same dashboard, but at the same time keeping it a little bit more digestible, is by adding pages to the dashboard. So if I press add page, you will see that there's a little navigation here, and that lets me switch between pages. And this is really beneficial, especially if you're planning out a larger dashboard then you can make pages around, let's say, a channel. So the first page is maybe the overview, second page is about Google Organic, the third page is about Google Ads, etc. Or you want a page on your dashboard about like the pages on your site, like the content. You want something about internal search functionality. You can make different report pages like that. So there are a couple of things you need to know about when using pages. So let's hit view first. So if you keep it to the default, you have a navigation to the top left, but let's edit. What I like to do here is under theme and press layout and then choose navigation type tab and then press view. So then you have a tabbed navigation to the top left. I like that just a little bit better. You can change the names. So if I go into pages, you can change the names here. So you can call this overview and then call this, for instance, landing pages, something like that. You can even add icons to this. So if I go into the pages here, I go into this dot menu, I can select an icon for this, and for instance, the home icon, and then landing pages could be a different icon. So this one. So overview, landing pages. Also, as soon as you switch between pages, you see that you need to start all over. For instance, this logo and this date range selector, you want to keep that across pages. And what you can do here is you can make this report level. And I want to make this report level as well. And what you will see is that if I move into a different page, that those two elements are the same. All right, to fill out our landing pages, let's just copy a couple of these. I'm going to press copy, go into landing pages and paste them here as well. But instead of traffic sources, I want a larger screen of all my website landing pages. And in order to do that, I'm going to select this table. I'm going to switch the dimension here from traffic sources into landing pages. So landing page, I'm going to choose this one, landing page. This is going to give me all the landing pages over time with the bounce rate and conversion rate. As you can see, the not set is here as well. That is something that GA4 still hasn't solved. Every GA4 property that I've seen has this not set. It is kind of confusing to have not set here because we do not know what the landing page was. So what I like to do is to filter out that rule. And it's really easy to make filters in Looker Studio. We can just do that by selecting the table, and we can do that with everything, the timeline, the scorecards. We can do this basically with every chart. We're going to do this with the table. Let's select the table and let's scroll down in the menu here. And then we end up here with a filter. And I'm going to add a filter. And I'm going to say filter not set landing page. So this is basically just a name for the filter and that we can reuse later on. And I'm going to exclude landing page that is equal to, and I'm going to say not set. And it's probably gonna give a suggestion. No, okay, fine. I'm gonna hit save. And now the not set rule is filtered out of this table. All right, so we've made 2 pages so far. Let's add one more and then make sure this report ends up in our inbox every Monday. So let's go ahead, let's go into pages again, and let's duplicate this one. And I'm gonna make this a different icon. So let's look for instance, this one, and then say top pages. There you go. And I want this to view the top pages. And I'm going to start this timeline not with users or conversions, but I want this to display the amount of views over time. So let's look for views. Yeah, there you go. So the amount of pages that have been opened by our users. And I want to display the total amount of views here as well. And I want to use this table to show me the top 10 pages that people have opened up on my site over the past year. There's a filter on here from that I duplicated. I'm going to remove that. I'm going to switch landing page to just page path. There you go, page path. And then I just want the amount of views right here as a metric. So I have the page path and the amount of views on my site. I can even make this clickable if you want to. It's a little bit more advanced, but let's go into add fields so we can create our own field here. And let's do it like this. So page, I'm just going to call it page. Then say hyperlink. We need to fill out 2 things, the URL and the link label. Let's start with the URL first. So it's going to link 2 things, the host name So which is my site, leonkorteweg.nl, and then comma, and then page path. Yeah, there you go. So then I go out of my concat function. I press another comma, and now I fill out the page path. There you go. You do not need to do this, but it gives me a little bit more convenience. It makes all the page paths in my table clickable. So if I view this page, I can just open this up and it shows me the home page. So it's just a little bit more convenient, and so bonus tip right there for you. So now I have a third page, top pages, the amount of views in total, and a breakdown of all the views per page here. And I can make this a little bit more space efficient. There you go. So now that we are done building our dashboard, how can we make sure this ends up in our inbox every Monday? Because that's really handy to have. It's an easy way of implementing web analytics in your daily and weekly rhythms, is just by sending it to your inbox, so you're basically confronted with it every week. We can do that by going into share and then schedule delivery. And well, to whom do you want to send it to? To yourself as your own reminder, or do you want to send it to a manager or colleagues or your clients? I'm going to send it to myself. I'm going to say start, say next week. I'm going to repeat it weekly on Monday, and I'm going to hit save. So this report is going to be sent into my inbox every Monday from now on. Another way of sharing this report that I use all the time is just by pressing share. And you can either share it with a Google account, so somebody needs to be logged into their Google account, or if you like, and if the data is not super sensitive, you can just make the report unlisted. So it makes sure that it's not like searchable, it's not being picked up with search engines. But if you have the link, somebody could just open up and see the data, and that's a little bit more convenient. You can just copy the link and then save this. So let me just open this up in an incognito browser. So if you just have the link and you open up the dashboard, then you will be able to look at it, and you do not need to be logged into a specific account or whatsoever. All right, that's it for today. That's how you make your own Looker Studio dashboard from scratch. I hope this video was clear, and I hope it was helpful. I hope you're able now to make your own Looker Studio dashboards from scratch as well. If you have any questions, please leave them down in the comments below. I will try to answer as many of them as I can. I want to thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.